Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Sermon with Ola. I am currently being tested. Everything I've said over the past 29 weeks about consistency, it's like today is one of the final exams. I'm gonna announce something towards the end, but right now it's like this is currently 1:50 a.m. on the Sunday this is supposed to come out. Talk about leaving it late. I've basically slept and woken up to come and do this. It is it's just one of those times where everything in me would be saying like, people don't need an episode. You don't even get that many downloads and views. Why are you bothering? The second camera just died on me just right now. I don't understand it. It's a GoPro. I don't do anything adventurous with it right now. I literally just have it propped up, standing there, and it stays plugged in as well, so it's not have to use its own battery. And right now it's just messing up. And when that stopped working, and I was just looking how tired I am, everyone in the house is asleep. I was just like, so tempted right now to just do nothing. But somehow I'm still here, and that's the win. That's the win. So listen out for what I'm gonna say at the end. Thank you, as always, to everyone who took part in the academic assessment episode last week. That was dope. I love the fact that you guys really sit down and have intelligent conversations with me. That's amazing. And I love the fact that you can be smart and intelligent but still know the limits to your I'm wary of intellectualizing so much to the point where you really believe you know it all and it turns out you don't know anything. If you listen to the Boy Mum episode, you know why I just said that. And I just find that you guys are a really cool bunch of people to talk to. So shout out to you guys. And shout out to the patrons as always. You know how much love I have for you. Special place in my heart for patrons. And I've really resolved that I must do some special content for you guys, some special treats. So please keep an eye out on the Patreon page. I've always kind of done it in a sort of general kind of support motive, but I really want to start delivering on some of the tiers, some of the extra content, and some of the extra little bits here and there. So, all right, let's get into today's topic. So today's topic it's about competition. I have a weird relationship with it. The conversation started because this week I was talking to my wife about this board game. Now, I love this board game. This board game has a very close place in my heart. It's called Rat Race. Not many people know about it. It's very obscure. But I think it's better than Monopoly, if I'm honest. But it's in that similar vein. The idea is there's 3 concentric loops. They're in square shape, but you're going around the board. And the outer one is like working class, the middle one's middle class, and then it's upper class. And you have to basically try and amass a certain amount of money by the end of to win the game. So you set it at 100k or whatever it is. First person to 100k wins. Now, in order to make more money, to have more money available to you, you can basically move up the classes. In order to move up the classes, you have to buy certain status symbols and get a certain amount of money. As you move up into a new class, you actually make more every time you go around the board. And the board is actually smaller for you, so you get around quicker. So it's like by the time you're in upper class, you're getting paid 10k every time you pass. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's quite clever how they've put it together. and how they juxtapose the buying of status symbols in order to move up in class, whilst the aim is to actually amass more money. You end up having to spend money to make money. And there are a few sort of shortcuts as well that you can try. There's a racetrack, there's a stock market. It's very, very interesting, and that's all run by rolling dice and stuff like that. And I do love the game. I even specifically went to go and buy a version of it I found on eBay, because we had one as a family, like when I was a kid, and it kind of fell apart, lost it, that kind of thing. So I played it. I love introducing people to the game, and I played it with my wife, and we've only ever played like maybe once or twice. And so she was like, "Yeah, you never seem to want to play Rat Race with me," and I vocalized something to her that I've kind of said a few different ways, but we ended up having a proper conversation about it, which is I really don't enjoy competition. And I remember bringing this up when I was in therapy, and it's very easy. You don't have to do too much to get to the root of it. Is that when somebody like me really, really, really balks at the idea of and avoids the idea of competition, it's usually because it means a little bit too much. You know when it means a bit too much to you? You can't enjoy it. There's no such thing as healthy competition anymore. Because I describe how it is for me. And if you're similar or, you identify with it, I'd love to hear from you as well. But for me, if I'm competing for my own, if I care about this competition, I'm not talking about like, oh, run against Usain Bolt. I don't care about that kind of race. Because I already know he's the fastest man in the world in, as much as we can measure. But if it's like me and you are going to play this board game, I have to win. I have to win because I know that if I lose, I feel like absolute trash. I feel crap. If I lose, it's not that I won't be graceful or I won't, just say congratulations, whatever it is. But the sinking feeling in my stomach lets me know that winning this board game means way too much to me. Right? So for me, personally, I'd rather not compete. I've been in situations where, you know what it is? Even when I win, it doesn't feel great. Winning feels like the relief of not losing. And also like, how can I describe it? There's no real triumph in it. It's just like, sometimes I even feel bad about the fact that I've beat somebody at this competition or whatever it is. So there's very little upside to all of this, but a huge downside. The risk you take in losing is not really offset by the joy of winning in these kind of meaningless competitions. So I was now pointing out to her that, this doesn't just play out in terms of playing board games with you. This is a lifestyle. I remember saying this to her at the beginning of the lockdown. We did a family quiz night, and I was messaging her like, I'm really not enjoying this. Like I had a strong sense of dread and anxiety in my very soul about the idea of even when I messaged her, I was in the lead. I was winning. And in the end, I think right at the end, maybe I ended up coming second or something like that. That sat with me. I do not take it well. I'm not necessarily going to like take it out on you and like smack you or hate you or run away or whatever it is. But like the way it sits with me is not fun at all. I also don't support a football club. I don't support a football club, and I don't know how people do it. I actually enjoy watching football. I just can't support a club. I can't allow myself to get emotionally attached. Sometimes I feel myself getting emotionally attached to Crystal Palace because I live nearby, to Manchester United because I really enjoyed watching them when I was growing up. but I just can't allow myself to say, yeah, I support them. You know what? You know when guys like rib each other over their team losing, I'm like, how can you come and carry secondhand wahala on your head? You had no part to play. You weren't on the squad. You weren't on the coaching team. You have no power over this, and yet you're gonna put your emotional stakes in the hands of these guys. I can't do it. I allow myself to do it maybe for the World Cup, but come on, man. I'm usually supporting Nigeria or England, and that's misplaced joy. It's fun because I get to do it with other people, and I understand the communal aspect of it. Being around Nigerians when Nigeria was doing fairly okay is a lot of fun. There's a lot of joy in that camaraderie. But yo, when they lost, oh my goodness. It just means too much to me. What other situations are there that this kind of applies to? I don't really like do the whole FIFA thing with the guys. I don't really do that much gaming with other people like that. In fact, my avoidance of competition is highly offset by my huge preference for collaboration. I prefer to collaborate with people. I'd much rather work with somebody than compete against them. I don't when If I think about me and my wife going bowling, I hate the idea of like at the end of it one of us wins. There's no real upside in this to me. So what I would usually say if my wife and I go bowling is, as a team, let's try and beat 200 as a score, right? So we set a team goal, and we kind of win together. We usually get there, but at least if we didn't get it, we lose together. What I can't take well is my wife going, ah, you lost, you little bowling beat. Yo, I couldn't handle that, man. Oh my goodness. I know myself, and I'm being very, very candid with you guys right now. Um, so I avoid it. I don't really do that kind of competing with people. I'd much rather we work together and try and I play a lot of like one player games. I play solitaire. I can play against the computer. I'd like, one player shoot 'em ups, that kind of thing. But yo, I do you know what it is as well? Then this is a very weird thing to try and deal with and try and work through, especially in these areas where it's highly competency based. I would much rather encourage somebody who's better than me and I watch them do it. Oh, I love watching somebody who's good at something do it. I love it. I used to have a roommate, and he was a gamer, and he'd try and bring me in and let me play as well on like Call of Duty and so on. And I would actually derive more joy watching him play the game well than I would play it myself, because I just knew that if I'm like holding the gun and waving it around, and I keep getting shot, I'm gonna get frustrated and it's gonna really get to me. I'd much rather watch him do it well. And sometimes I think there's an element of that in porn. I think sometimes watching somebody have this athletic, well choreographed, um, ridiculously over the top love scene feels better than the anxiety of maybe not being sure if you could physically satisfy a woman. But that's one of those deeper theses I have. So back to competition and collaboration. I can come up with more and more experiences about how the fact that I much prefer to collaborate with people. I avoid entering competitions. I avoid competing against another human being. I really much rather work with you. Um, And so we had that conversation, and the way the conversation went was like, I don't know if this is maybe me lacking a certain amount of masculine energy. Now, masculine energy is something that, maybe a year ago I wouldn't have engaged with the term because I'm not really with the whole where my energies are at kind of thing, because I think that sometimes that's a bit wishy washy. But as I've been slightly more like thoughtful on the concept and the idea, I understand that as a man you can do things that are typically quite masculine and typically quite feminine, and women can do things that are typically quite masculine and typically quite feminine. Um, and then sometimes you can just feel it. You can just meet a woman and just be like, there's something a bit more aggressive and combative. You feel like a dude to me, and so that's why I started to like think more about the terms. And one of the traits listed about masculine energy is that it's competition. That men love to compete. Men will be like, "I'll race you to this, and I'll do an arm wrestle and blah blah blah." And I'm just not that kind of guy. And that it's way more in the feminine energy to collaborate with people. And I said to my wife, maybe like the fact that I don't really compete is just a sign of the fact that like I'm lacking some kind of masculine energy. And she said, yeah, probably. And that hit me like Mike Tyson punching you in the gut. One, because it clearly touched some kind of deep insecurity in me that about being masculine, and the fact that my wife would sort of in some way validate the concern, not through any fault of her own. She was simply walking through this discussion with me. So this is not a fault of hers. It's not that she's done anything wrong by saying this, but it just really hit me. And I'm being candid with you guys so you can see as I walk through the process, I'm being very open and honest. I felt like trash, and it sat with me. It really sat with me for like the rest of the day. It was really bugging me, and I was like, why is it really bugging me? Because one reason why, and probably the main reason why, is it's not the first time I've heard it. I told you guys I write for Jason Lewis, um, who, bro, thank you so much for your constant support on this pod, by the way. Again, I'd much rather collaborate. So I remember when I first met Jason, and Jason told me at one point that like, yo, when I first met you, I thought maybe like you could be gay, like no, there was an issue, but like maybe just had some feminine affectations. And I was like, yeah, I mean that it kind of makes sense. Like I grew up in a house full of women. Most of the time, I was the only guy in the house. If I picked up some feminine affectations, it wouldn't be that crazy. But it just really made me start looking when that whole all these terms about masculine energy and feminine energy, we really made me start thinking more and more about like some aspects of myself which really don't align very well with being a masculine man. Um, I know for one, I don't have like a strong guy squad. I don't. I mean, I have male friends, but I don't roll in a squad of guys where we talk guy talk regularly. In fact, I probably have more female friends. Um, I'm very conversational. And I know the stereotype is usually that like men get out talked by their wives and they can't win an argument and blah blah blah. Dare I say it, I think I actually out talk my wife a lot, which I know is very frustrating for her. But I have no qualms with articulating myself at length and really breaking down how I feel or what I think on an issue. That's what this podcast is. Um, you know, sometimes I even just look at the physiology of my body and I go, oh my goodness, like, are my thighs thick? Like, you start looking at yourself like, yo, am I a bad B really? Like deep down, I feel like I got like man boobs. Maybe like maybe I just got some little titties in training. So I just absolutely spiraling on this whole like masculine anxiety and kind of wondering like so the projection or the extrapolation or the extension of this is why does all of this matter? One, because I find and my theory is that where men fall back in their masculinity, women feel the need to compensate. So women then step into the masculine energy to try and make up for the fact that this guy is being somewhat effeminate in a certain area. And what usually happens when guys are confronted with the masculine side of their partner is it triggers competitiveness because now you're presenting yourself as a man. It doesn't present an opportunity for being on the same team anymore because now you seem like you're trying to challenge my role. And I know that I like feminine women. I mean, I'm married, so it's not like we're talking about dating here, but like, I like when my wife is very feminine around me. And it made me worry, like, am I not giving her the space to be feminine because I'm kind of taking up some of the feminine space in the marriage? And am I maybe not as attractive to her because I'm not as masculine as I should be? When I say spiraling out, like I'm really out here spiraling. So I was, to be honest, all of this only wrapped up because I had a very good conversation with Fumbi that evening. And it felt good to talk to a guy and have a guy just reaffirm me and just kind of go, do you know what, bro? Like, I spent a lot of time misunderstanding you and people misunderstand me as well. Bro, forget all of that. All of that is rubbish. There's no doubt about the fact that you're a man and you're very masculine and blah blah blah. And it's like it's one of those heartwarming, touching stories of bros just kind of loving their bro and lifting them up when they're down, but also maybe possibly a very feminine approach to it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying everything that is feminine is bad and everything that's masculine is good. I'm just saying as a man, clearly there's something in me that yearns to be seen as masculine. And I just it really bugged me. So I just had to really ask myself some questions about like is avoiding competition completely fine? Is that a completely natural way to move through life for me? Have I maybe matured past competition and feel the need to no longer engage in petty back and forth with people? Or am I missing out on a crucial element of my masculine development because competition can actually drive you to be better? I don't know. Maybe in my aim to collaborate with people, if you try and collaborate with somebody who's being competitive with you, you can start to feel like a little baby girl. You're like, but I just want to work with you, and they're just like, yo, I'm gonna crush you, you know. Like you don't feel masculine when you're trying to be collaborative with people. And I don't know if that's a toxic masculinity or a hyper masculinity that needs to compete, or whether it's just part and parcel of it. Let's be honest here. The ones who, whenever women are talking about how, like, oh, it's not necessarily bad guys, it's like guys with edge, guys that, are confident in themselves, blah, blah, blah. It's not that I specifically just lack confidence. I'm clearly confident in many areas. But it's more the fact that, like, what they're describing often is very masculine traits. And surprise, surprise, women like men who are masculine. No, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I'd spent so much time thinking about, when I was first started considering this, how I like my wife to display feminine characteristics. Considering me not being masculine enough was like so far off my radar that by the time it hit me, I was blindsided. And I really, I think even till now, as much as I'm not in that same emotional state, I'm still very much questioning almost everything I do. Like, yo, is this some? Am I being a real sissy right now? Am I moving soft? I'm not gonna pretend to, be some trope. I'm not 50 Cent, but there's a reason why, you know, uh, there's a reason why some women like 50 Cent. He embodies something in them that they trust, they like, that turns them on, or whatever it is. There's the money, there's the power, the status, the muscles, whatever it is. Anyway, I put all of this anxiety I had or whatever is out there to maybe spark a conversation with you guys, which I'd like to discuss on the Instagram live this evening. I, how do we figure out what the reasonable line for masculinity is? And when does it become hyper masculinity? Is there anything wrong in men being feminine? As a woman, if you've been with a guy who exhibited feminine traits, did it endear you to him or did it repel you? That's the conversation I want to have with you guys. How do you guys feel about competition? How do you guys feel about collaboration? Do you trust a guy who doesn't like competition? Bear in mind, I did a lot of competitive things when I was younger. I played chess, but I also played rugby for my school. I've done karate in primary school. I had karate trophies and whatnot. I've, and I intend to take up shooting this year. I'm going to join a shooting club because I used to shoot when I was at school. So I want to get back to shooting, and maybe that might, awaken some masculine energy in me and probably spend more time around more men. But yeah, that's something I definitely want to explore. Now I said I was going to announce something, and that is, I think next week is going to be the last episode of Sunday Sermon. Indefinitely. If it ever comes back, it comes back. But it just seems like a nice, neat rounding point. The 30th episode. It's the last one before my baby's due. I have a new project, a new podcast project that I'm working on with Fumbi, collaborating. Ding. And I just think that sometimes it's good to capsule something. So at least if somebody's not been familiar with Sunday Sermon, they can go back right now from the beginning and just sort of watch 30 episodes. Whereas if you just keep going, some people just never really catch on. So I'd rather just leave it here for now. And we may come back to it, we may not, but I hope that's okay with you guys. That was my announcement. And on that note, guys, I look forward to discussing competition, masculinity, collaboration, femininity, and all these different things. And bear in mind, I'm coming to this one very much willing to learn. So please come and speak. Stay blessed.